Good morning, everybody. Good morning. This is 5D Living and Lifestyle, trying something new. This is Joanna, and we're so happy. We're going to go far and wide today. I'm hoping going to keep it really short. We have a beautiful mastery class that's coming up this Saturday for those of you that would like to join. We're going to be activating our new 5D missions, if you will, and we say that with great excitement and great joy because that is the portal to the fifth dimension, is that portal of joy, the inner child really exploring itself with all these new activated gifts and these wisdoms and the alignment of your highest potentiation with the highest grids of the collective and the Gaia energies. And so those are going to be the foundations of our core intentions for that class, is to activate the new grid templates and your soul's mission with those templates, preparing for all first contact and what each person plays within that role of first contact and the harmonization and the oneness of humanity, as well as your own unique gifts and your intentions that you set for who you are as the ascending, evolving, divine human that is of spirit and of light and the divine heavenly body, as you're harmonizing and assimilating greater packets of light. And so email me if you're interested in that class, 22nd at 1. It's 44 USD, and it is a 3-hour class, and you will have the video to be sent to you so that you can take notes and reflect upon later as you're activating more codes that get downloaded in that class. I have been beautifully assimilating greater packets of light and greater templates. And so what's been happening lately with my interactions with others is these portals that are being created and energies just flowing through that consists of beings, entities that you're evolving with on many different universes and many different realms. Really exciting things are happening within this universal creative collective, and that we're capturing energies from the different dimensions of the different universes that can help us in this beautiful experience of humanity coming into oneness. And this is why we're seeing what we're seeing out in our social collective on what's uplifting and what's being unfolded, so that we can truly release every dense experience of belief, to do with the collective virus, because that collective virus is directly linked to all of the mental viruses that we've been talking about lately, as to the limitations, the fear, and the less than and lack that we hold about who we are, what we exist within, and what exists within us. That virus is a mental program, and that virus created the virus that we see that's happening all over our globe. And so why we're returning to who we are as spirit, we're calling all of our power back through the power of who we are, the light of who we are, the energy of who we are, recapitulating all that we are as divine commanding beings, that we have access of ourselves, we have access of the highest health, and we are now creating a brand new reality, that we're reaching farther and beyond anything that we've ever done before. So it's so exciting. I've taken some time off to kind of really go within and allow the assimilation of these activations that I've been moving through. And I'm going to try and explain in this offering today a little bit of the multidimensionality of what we're moving into. And so those that are newly on our program, depending on your level of consciousness, and we say that with honor and great respect because everybody is exactly where they're meant to be. There is no quality or quantity of anywhere in any path, for ascension is never a competition. It's never a race. It's never who gets there first. It's never who understands things first. As we are human, and as I am human, I can only explain things in the best way that our linear, limited words have. That's why those of you that have been listening to us for so very long, I offer words in ways that allow the transmutation of what was into the new level of harmony, of quotient of light. Everything is light. And it depends on where everybody is at in their template of harmonization, how much you can assimilate, how much you can process, how much you can assimilate, how much you can integrate through your understanding and reflection. That's why reflection is so important in your daily self-care, so that you can integrate and understand what you're processing. As you release those densities, as you release those old beliefs, and you understand the vibrational stories you're coming from, you can then cut away any of those vibrational stories that no longer serve, and they are built within the mental programming of who we are, what we exist within, and what exists within us. And that's why they are a mental virus. The mental viruses keep you stuck on that same cycle of merry-go-round, the same mental patterns, the same mental addictions, the same mental obsessions. It's all a mental virus. And so that is where you have to rewrite those stories and drop back into your spirit and be guided from the essence of who you are as spirit, taking commandmentship of your multidimensional vessels. And that's the experience of multidimensionality. Because I'm only human and I am in human form processing great experiences of light and codes of light. There are only the certain words that we have, and therefore thus then many of what we will be interpreting today will be done so for those of the highest in the benevolence of those that are attending these experiences, and frequencies of co-creation will allow themselves to soak within the codes that are being blessed heretofore with your teams, and with all that this conduit is able to express through her own being of self and oneness with the Holy Christ and the Mother and the Father, consciousness of all that is. So merely just allowing your hearts to be opened. Thank you, Holy Creators, and just allowing your vessels to receive. Thank you. Just preparing your space with the divine holy light. Thank you, Holy Spirit, that you will receive exactly what you need to. Thank you, Holy Spirit, in the highest frequencies of love and light through Lord Michael and all of the Metatronic programs of love and light. Thank you, Spirit. And we're allowing this space to be bathed and cleansed with the highest intentions of the highest benevolence. So we bring forth the highest evolutionary frequencies of new light that are in congruence with the grids and the templates that we are experiencing. So just open your hearts and be ready to receive, dear lighted ones. Thank you. And you have your teams and your guides that are with you, assisting in the massaging and the releasing of anything that needs to be released, and the entering of all new informations as you release all lower vibrating mental programs that keep you stuck and limited in thought programs that are allowing you to stay unhealthy and unwell. We're now opening up these mental programs to the mental body and bathe the mental body with the highest light of love and light, infinite potentiality. We want you to reach higher and farther beyond anything that you've ever reached before, dear lighted ones. You don't have to sort the information out. The information does not have to make sense, for all will make sense when you're ready to make sense of it. For all is now, and all is multidimensional, and all is light, therefore, thus, then. It will never, most often than not, make sense in a linear progression. For light is multidimensional. It is all now, all universes, all aspects of you. Everything you see on the outside is all that you are on the inside, in some fragment, in some perspective, in some vibration of energy that needs you to accept it in its oneness. And ground. Thank you, Spirit. And we're grounding all that we are as light, grounding all that you are as light, so that you can anticipate your experience with Gaia and the grids and the energies that are with her. And we're also coming forward in this co-creation is that, thank you for this clearing, Spirit. You're a multidimensional vessel of light. You're able to transmute, and you're able to integrate, and you're able to call in higher vibrational packets of wisdom and information. If you so choose, it's always free will. The information is always available to you, and it is about your process, your alignment, your discipline with who you are as light that allows you to ascend and expand in who you are as light. And therefore, thus, then we try our very best to offer the words and the information in the way that the human collective can understand, but also know there's far much more going on behind the scenes that you know is multidimensional. And thank you for those that are listening. And we see you in the views and the purviews of our multidimensional landscape of this chamber of light. Thank you, Holy Divine Creator. We also practice these experiences of opening your divine multidimensional vessels in our classes, and we advise you and we empower you to be a part of these beautiful collective experiences through which portals of love and light are opened, and all are served in these processes. For there are many beings that are here on your behalf, of the highest benevolency, to assist you in your highest becoming. And you are always supported in these experiences of the omnipresent. Thank you, the Mother and the Father with you, and the highest Holy Creator that want to see you in your highest and best and begin to have fun here on planet Earth. And so what we wanted to talk about today, the beautiful introduction, thank you, Spirit, and the councils of light in this chamber of light that we are co-creating with our collective, is that the topics we wanted to talk about today are the templates of oneness, and what does the psyche and the 5D living and lifestyle can rewrite as far as what we know to be the psyche and psychiatry. Psyche and psychiatry is not what we have known it to be from 3D, because as you always understand, everything that we offer is always pushing the boundaries on what has been, so that we can break into what is truly available to us as the highest potentiation of human divine light that is constantly transmuting matter. All things in existence are a vibrational experience. Whether it is dense in matter or not dense in matter, there are still vibrations of love and light within it. All things are that of the vibrational song, and it depends upon your experience as the psyche and how you have defined your element of investigation and exploration and healing on your planet known as psychiatry will be rewritten in the coming years. Therefore, because you are understanding that all is not linear, all is not in conjunctive to a then, a now, and a future, it is always in conjunction of all that is now. The multidimensionality of what you know to be is your templates of oneness. And why you have seen, dear lighted ones, anything unfolding on your planet right now is incongruent to the symptomologies of these templates of oneness. Each and every one of you each day activate through the inner being of who you are. Anything that is of residue and dense matter will want to come forward and be examined and be investigated for what that density means, what that matter means, because that matter is your exploration to see it as its highest light, to refine it as a sacred geometry, to find it as not fear, not wounding, but to see it as a blessing of love and benevolence within it all. However, because all have been trained as to be a victim and perpetrator mentality, as us and them, as the underpinnings of this world's experience, is that separation. And thus then, dear lighted ones, that is at the basis of most of your divine blessed experiences for oneness. Remember, everything is the infinity, and what held in the very center is your divine relationship. Anything that is held in separation will move forward in your own transcension of seeing it as one, the blessing within it and why it held its wound with you within you. Any energy packet that is held within you that has not been resolved as oneness will continue to create itself in your outer reality for you to look at, for you to investigate, for you to view and purview. Everything is a now experience. Everything is a now reality. All universes, all aspects of you through which the consciousness that you hold. We want to pause and take this very, very excitedly. The consciousness that you hold now, the epitome of all that you are now, will be the encapsulation of how you're able to see that one experience in the highest, grandest perspective on all angles and all purviews, so that you can then choose this now. I'm going to create this now, this now, this now. These templates, therefore, further expand. Your level of consciousness, your level of maturity within this consciousness is your mastery. How you choose to use energy and yourself within it, always in the benevolence of aligning with the universal laws of light and love, will allow you to then expand into these templates of oneness. Now, these templates of oneness are always within, as always, done within the highest perspectives of the highest creators of the highest lines of evolution from all universes, therefore directly aligned with the mother and the father creators of all evolution. Therefore, all pinpoints on the spectrum of light maps, if you will, the maps of evolution that source creator is in charge of unfolding and birthing and blessing, is for the sacredness of all involved. For those light maps allow each person, each experience, each entity, all values of life, all levels of life, all templates of life, to interact harmoniously as a new version of oneness. However, the psyche in and of itself is still working within a delineation of linear experience, of dense matter experience, of the victim and the perpetrator of thus, then, back, and now. And so, when you understand that your reality experience is based on the psyche wounds and what you hold, the consciousness level that you're able to expand within and integrate that greater light and understand the greater light and understand the all blessings within it all, no matter how challenging, there is that blessing of divine oneness, there's that blessing of divine relationship where you're threading all universes, all aspects of you, all beliefs of you, and you're able to spread it out into something profound and grand. It is hard for you, dear lighted ones, to understand that you are now a multidimensional soul being, and you are encapsulated with many aspects of who you are. The more that you love yourself and expression of you, the allness of you, the capacity of you as all beings and all light and all aspects of life, the easier it is to integrate greater packets of light, greater integrations of light, greater integrations of oneness. That capacity of light, if you will, that light quotient, the all is all, there's no resistance, the all is all, there's no resistance, I accept all, and I release what no longer serves me in this blessedness. That's the alchemy of density, is releasing the alchemy of density by acknowledging it, by accepting it as you. And then harmonizing in the vastness of you. It's all one. It doesn't have to get you or trigger you. Call it in, call that trigger in. Say, why is this triggering me? Because I've separated it. The maturity of the psyche wants to see it as us and them, the wounding that was never held within that child, to say, there, you are perfect, you are divine, you belong, you are loved, you are matter. And those healing wounds of the separation is absolutely dealt within the very center of who you are as value, of who you are as worthy, of who you are as in your oneness of mother, father, because the oneness of mother, father is the healing of that wound of separation. And it is up to each and every person to seek within that oneness of the mother and the father. Whatever wounds are there are the perpetration of the perspective that is held through the psyche wounds. And they're also saying too, there isn't always balance. The psyche wounds and the psyche benevolence of expansion, because there's always the law of one, the balance of one. We're going to give this offering to these two perspectives we're talking about, psyche and psychiatry, how it will be rewritten for 5D and the templates of oneness are all affecting the micro macro. For instance, lots of clearing. There's lots of clearing that we're doing within the collective of the lower two chakras, safety and who you are as the creator being, your creativity, from all of our collective oneness that is being released in the collective right now. And then we're going to talk about the eruption, and these are symptomologies of the templates of oneness that they were showing me. We're going to talk about Munchausen. And it's an experience that you have defined through, again, the discipline of what you call psychiatry. And much that you will be rewriting in your ideas of psychiatry in the near future is your understanding of the all-nowness of your soul experience and the psyche wounds that you hold, trying to interpret itself through these new vibrational realities that are allness, that are oneness. The maturity of the psyche in and of itself, and the disassociation that you find within something as called Munchausen, is that it finds itself in such a separative experience for which it cannot understand its part within its co-creation of the reality it sees itself within. And it takes itself out of responsibility and accountability for what it has created. And for it is the ability of keeping itself in its own level of understanding of itself within its safety. Self-preservation is the core experience of this psyche wound, of this particular one example we're giving. This one example we're giving is that the experience of Munchausen, the experience, and we say the experience is that it's a packet of light, the being that holds it, the being that holds its level of maturity, its level of consciousness expansion, how it is able to process, how it is able to navigate new light, how it is able to navigate new realms of potential, how is it able to navigate new reality experiences. That's what we call maturity. You have to grow within this maturity. You have to navigate and understand energy, because everything is energy, everything's templates, everything is a new consciousness now. As our collective releases these densities, there will be new and new templates of oneness, new and new templates of light. Now, depending on how one is keeping up with their daily self-care and going within and healing their own wounds, they're keeping up with their ability to process and keep the potentiation and possibility of new maturity levels of light and understanding of yourself as the oneness within it all. Munchausen is quite the dissociation, and its level of maturity is stunted, because that stunted level of maturity has such a self-deprivation of its own safety within its reality. So that means of the early wounding that it has taken on, plus, as we know, the all now wounding of other traumas from other timelines that have not yet been resolved or even acknowledged. And those come from deep within the chakra systems. And they are usually activated through and by, sometimes and oftentimes from outer global or collective experiences that can then refer and activate the person to go within, the being to go within and reflect upon what is going on within as far as safety, as far as creative exploration, as far as creative maturity to navigate any tower or volcano that erupts. To know that you have the gifts, to know that you have the skills, to know that you have the capabilities to navigate anything. That is the maturity you have as a being of light, that you're constantly evolving, you're constantly changing. You can process and integrate light, you can process and move through anything. Spirit is always with you. Spirit is always with you. The wounds from that Munchausen experience, if you will, can come from many different things. Your beliefs and your ideologies about how you are as a good and a bad person, how you will go to hell or not hell, you are not supported or are supported. All of those belief systems that are deeply held within your social systems and your dogma, as far as how and who you are threaded with source, to move through anything in support, to move through anything in the capabilities of who you are within. And those come from deep, steeped belief systems, because remember, your beliefs are a part of those psyche wounds. Your beliefs, if they're very limited and stringent and strict and fear-based, will create that psyche experience of the mind to create the reality to match with it. Your beliefs will create that reality to match your beliefs. That psyche wound is then created from those beliefs. Until you get it, wow, this is absolutely a wound about my safety level. Am I safe? Well, let's just sit and work on this safety issue. I'm going to call up these wounds from my sacral. I'm going to call up these wounds from my root. I am safe. There might have been other realms that I'm telepathically connected to in this now moment, that yes, there was a destruction there. There was a world destruction there. There was a celestial war there. And I'm safe now, because now I'm in my body. Now I come back to this Christed now. Now I come back and I'm maturing and I'm expanding out. I am safe with spirit. I will always be shown the way. I'm just going to move through every challenge because I know I can. And I am maturing, and I am becoming a being of one, and I am becoming the infinite and eternal light, because I am of light and I navigate in light. I bring light to what was fear. And that is the daily self-care and maturity that each person can choose, if you so desire, because it's always free will, on who you are as spirit, navigating these new templates of light to bring in the template of light within you and the oneness of that light. Now, this Munchausen, we're going to take that one example because it's very profound, that so many of you have at varying degrees. When you're creating something in your reality and it's absolutely impossible for you to think that you are a part of it, then you're creating that self-preservation. And that self-preservation is the belief that I'm going to create stories that the mental experience, the mental virus, the mental programs that you think, that you believe you're holding yourself within, these mental umbrellas, that you are not safe if you go outside and you become that hearted, spirited being and become the level of integrity and truth that you absolutely know you are always supported, you are always one, you are always vibrating in an infinite vessel and a well of love. But it's done within those steep, limiting, fear-based programs that you are not necessarily safe. And therefore, thus then, there are experiences and there are dialogues and there are stories that one tells oneself that is separate from the experience, so that it stays safe within its confines, because it does not know its availability to create programs that are higher and more expansive to keep it in its level of safety, if you will. For it is always safe, it just doesn't know it is, because there is a steeped belief that it is not safe. And if it comes out of that umbrella, then it is not safe and it will be destroyed. So there are very deep and stenched soul wounds that must be detracted and extracted and deconstructed to be placed on the table and sorted out one by one, forgiven and loved and compassionate, so that that soul with that particular definition or construct are the soul experiences through which it does not see itself as being capable to navigate new experiential realities. And that is taking itself out of the mental program and being within the spirit and the soul to be expansive within all templates. But those are wounds that must be approached from a different perspective, as opposed to saying the traditional experiences of such soul experiences that are not known to the world of psychiatry yet, because it still sees it in a degeneration of what the experience linear may provide, because it goes far deeper and wider than that. Because now that you're opening to this allness in this multiverse experience in the the templates of oneness, is that you're incorporating all universal timelines, and we're threading together certain corruptive timelines. We say corruptive because all of you have had a part in playing in the energies of separation. You would not be here if you were not. And whatever levels of separation you have, us and them, victim and perpetrator, black and white, sexes, and whatever it might be, those are mental viruses that you were all born within, and then, therefore, each placed within the familial, lineage, and Akash stories that you each took on, you each chose at a very high degree of evolution, your story with Creator, so that you created these overlays of density so that you can ascend through the middle of who you are, knowing you are one with God, the templates of oneness. And then you create the harmonization of something new, the expansiveness of your consciousness maturity, expanding out, because you absolutely know that within every challenge, there is the opposite experience of your liberation. And it is you just feeling the perspective of your safety with spirit. All is good, all is well, and there is a way to navigate around it. There always is. There always will be. There are infinite potentials, infinite possibilities of anything that you might see as a challenge. Those are the mental programs and beliefs that you must toss away, throw up in the air, however you choose to do it, and say, I'm breaking these boundaries and I'm going to sit in the middle of who I am with spirit. Now, what is it that I can co-create that can expand who I am in this potential, so that I can see myself as greater, I can feel myself as greater, and I am one with spirit, creating new templates so I can rewrite what was. Because each and every one of you are here to rewrite what was. You come with a package of experiences in the psyche. That psyche can also incorporate your overlays that you have taken on. And again, every person is different. Every person is unique, based on the soul blueprints, based on what you've come to based on what you've chosen to create a transcension of. When you get to a certain level of your consciousness and you've cleared as much density and you're on your way, for those of us that have been on this path for so very long, we are now on the ability to begin the greater collective clearing and really clearing a lot of energies for the bigger collective stories of separation. We've cleared a lot of our own personal and individual experiences of separation, understanding that the familial, the dogma, and the akash, as you're doing your daily self-care, those can be things that you can look into. What am I carrying forward as a limitation from my lineage? What am I carrying forward as from my akash? What am I carrying forward from the collective that I can introduce into an expansive being of me? And that's why we've created those diary forms and those journals so that you can go within and ask yourself such questions and really start sussing out the expansive and the maturity level of who you have an expansive being. Because you're now shifting templates, dear lighted one. Your ability to process and assimilate that light and be mature in that light and take it as a beautiful excitement to navigate anything, no matter how challenging it may appear, it is only the perspective from the stories you're letting go. So just know that there will be that moment of friction through which you have that fear and that flight or flight reaction, to which you just surrender to the creator and open up into who you are and say, I now open up into a new higher vibrational story because I choose to change the template through which I exist upon. That is when you change reality templates. You're leaving that 3D experiential story and you're tapping into something that's more and bigger and better because you've intended it through the pulsations of your heart and your soul. And you're also keeping up with the grander soul of who you are on the other aspects of your soul that say it's time to move along, the pearl threaded, if you will. Remember, all is sacred geometry and all is light. When you're ready, you're ready. And we want to go, but now we're at that part of, pardon, lots of clearing. Accepting that you can move through anything. Seeing yourself as greater than you were before. And we want to go back to that part about the limitation, your belief about your own limitations, breaking all mental stories, breaking all mental viruses. And our collective virus that we are moving through, affecting the physical body, is a mental virus. It was created through mental fears and controls. And so as we just release those fear virus stories, we actually move into the highest spiritual, soulful experience of who we are, reclaiming our power, reclaiming our light, reclaiming all of our energy. And we begin as a collective to create higher vibrational experiences through which all governments, all systems, all things that held power over us, if you will, that we co-created, begin to crumble away and we get to rewrite. So this is why it's so important and why we bring these forward, because we're now taking an aspect, a very small aspect of psychiatry, and we're going to rewrite it. The limitations that you hold within the story of the psyche of who you are, the experience of who you are, the maturity and the potentiation of who you are, is allowing yourself to know. Now, this is going to boggle some minds, but go with it. Just allow it. You don't have to understand it. You don't have to dissect it. You don't have to figure it out, because it can't be figured out. Just allow the spirit and the soul to know what we are saying is true. For all your levels of truth are the same. Your level of truth is different than any other person's level of truth, and it's all true. Okay, so all is now, all is the experience of now, and all is multidimensional in oneness of now. And there are universal laws that support all that. And now your level of truth will be the level of consciousness you hold, your belief about who you are, and you create your reality around that. Your mental program as it stands right now is creating as your reality is. We're now asking you to shift and throw it upside down, the upside down effect, and start creating as the soul and the spirit of all that you are, the harmonization of all soul aspects, and truly start creating as the powerful, profound experience of you as source. And so, the limitation of who you are right now, if you have it, we take it back to that experience of Munchausen, if you will. Or somebody that is going through a deep loss or a grieving process, somebody that has lost someone, somebody that has lost, it doesn't matter what that loss is, it could be a business, it could be a job, it could be whatever. That experience of that limitation, if you will, there is a process of grieving. There is a process of processing the energy that was held within whatever that loss was. Now, if we take the idea of a job, the idea of a great soulmate, the idea of a partner, a friend, anything, any type of loss. There are aspects of experience within that one idea that you know as a friend, the one idea that you know as a dog, per se. There are levels of experience. The first time you threw your stick to the dog, and that was an experience that was then built within this new version of the multidimensional perspective of who you are, spirit and matter. You're creating matter from the spirit that you essence yourself into creation. Most are not living in that experience because they're not present. They're still creating from the mental programs, so therefore they're creating realities of mental realities. If you drop to your heart and create from the presence of who you are, you're creating as the presence of the essence of who you are as spirit. You're creating the essence of that heart-centered choosing and that heart-centered navigation through all that is spirit, creating a much more harmonious experience. You understand how to transmute, you understand how to create now. And so you're allowing yourself to become more of this high vibrational creational reality. That loss still has that packet of information, those packets of experience throughout the duration of that experience of that friend or that dog or whatever that loss incorporated. Now, if there has not been enough time, if you will, and we say time because it's all variant, depending on each person, everyone experiences loss in different ways. Everyone experiences the processing and the transmuting of loss in different ways. And this is another way that we can rewrite psychiatry and counseling and healing. There are various levels through which loss is a continuation, and it's not linear. It's a constant now unveiling of the deeper wounds that were held, because remember, it's a multidimensional now experience. The loss that you held on that planet, the loss that you held on that planet is all incorporated within the root chakra, your safety, self-preservation, if you're looking at it from another experience of dialect. We say dialect because it's only that level of consciousness through which that being holds, not as a presumed diagnosis like Munchausen. We call it a dialect. That dialect of consciousness can only perceive its reality and itself within that reality from the experience of the consciousness that it holds. Its understanding of itself within that consciousness reality. But that can be healed. You can release those limited stories. You can release the safety, fear issues, because again, they're multidimensional, tied to many worlds, many galaxies, many realms, trying to understand itself in these new shifting reality templates. And it there goes into that fear, that fight or flight, because it knows the being of light, the being of biology, the being of psychosis understands that it's in a new reality right now. I can feel something's different, something's changing. And so your body is trying to find its new grounding, its new legs, if you will, in these new templates of oneness. And therefore, all that is not in oneness will come forward to be cleared and faced and reflected upon and owned and accounted for. If we take that same example of loss, that loss incorporates many, many experiences. It must be allowed its time to grieve. It must be allowed its time to acknowledge the agitations within that loss, and whatever those agitations might be. The loss that there was a loss of lack of closure. There was a loss of lack of communication. There was a lack of preparedness, whatever that loss incorporates, and create that layering experience that soul requires to fully release the energies or those densities that are still held that absolutely create what's going on in the outer reality to come back and receive itself as a reflective experience. Now, there was a lot there. Just clearing that. We want to summarize. If we take that loss perspective, and that person is sitting there and saying, why am I still moving through this experience? Because I thought I released all of those energies and those packets of loss, the grieving, the anger, the fear, the acceptance, on all of the various stages that a soul goes through. And it's different for every soul based on their level of empathy and their level of maturity that they have to process light, process experiences on an individual and a collective basis. For those many of you empaths and conduits like Joanna that can process loss for the collective and help process those energies and angers, and same with the children. And so you are now a collective one heart. What you're going through as a collective is felt for all of you, and why you are all now threading and sewing yourselves as a collective oneness, the templates of oneness, bringing up all that is not oneness, all that is in agitation, all that has not been resolved for your reflection, for your integrating as one. And so they were showing me that in anything that you're now going through, any residue, if you will, of something that you thought you dealt with, we'll say then, is just a spiraling now moment through which the light now that's being offered, these templates of oneness now that are being offered, are so profound that that residue is now coming up to face you. And because it has not been dealt with, we'll say prior, you, the mind, the psyche, has created an entire reality through which it needs to process that wound. Does that make sense? So every minute you're changing realities based on what has not been resolved. And you're also, in the same respect, because it's, remember, it's the infinity, it's always balanced, what has not been resolved and what you're aching to explore and expand within. Your expansiveness, constant growth, constant evolution. That's the middle ground, saying I'm completely present. I know that I've got stuff to resolve and there's always going to be something new. Stuff resolved, always something new, and I will transmute it. And so, because the psyche is so profound, and that's where you're coming from, is all these mental reality co-creations. You're co-creating a mental reality because the mental programs and the mental stories are where you get stuck in. Same merry-go-round, same experience, same densities, and you co-create it with those that are really stuck in those mental programs. And so it's often called the devil energy, or those that want to cling onto you for those energies that keep pulling you back into these mental programs because they don't know how to survive outside of the mental program. They're in fear that they don't know how to navigate their way out of the mental program. And so those of you that are awake and those of you that find yourself on those karmic cycles can absolutely look it in the face and say, hey, you can get through this. You're just going through your wounds. Go through your wounds and start healing them and start manifesting your daily self-care, because you can detach yourself from those mental experiences. You absolutely can. There's always that equal opportunity. Spirit will always, the universe will always offer it to you, for you, through you, because you signed up to create it. You can sign up to heal it, and you can. But your psyche is so profound that if there is any agitation that is not yet brought forward, that residue of that density is held within your multidimensional all systems, and it's now presenting itself to you in the outer experience. However, now, because it's accelerated, because those templates of oneness are so much more profound, you're now seeing it in a much more faster and intense manner. That's why things feel so intense, because there's certain uprisings of things that were underground that are going to be lifted. And we're going to talk about the underground in another experience, because it's very exciting to understand that the underground was those undercurrents of us and them and the separations that have gone under the social norms, if you will, to create systems of their own. And that is the very deepest and the steepest of the separation experience, and the denser energies that will be uplifted by those of you that are ready to start clearing those energies and understanding the multidimensional soul experience, so that these things can be healed into new systems of, we say, oneness. Not conformity, but oneness. Because that conformity is what forced those experiences to go underground. And they wanted to have access to the liberation and the freedom, but also create their own financial systems in doing so. And oftentimes going against the grain of what your social conformity found as normal and norm, the social norms, and going against the rules and going against what you call to be acceptable. For if you understand that anything that you have co-created, it's all worthy of you on some level, so that you can bring all that is not in oneness up to the forefront and heal it, because you are all one. You are absolutely all one. Anything you see outside of you is something going on within that needs to be resolved. And so this wonderful part that they showed me this morning is that your psyche is going to create whatever it needs to on the outside, so that it can show you from within, this needs to be resolved, whether it makes sense or not. You might have had a loss a couple of years ago, but still are dealing with the residue of not clearing an anger or an agitation, because there was no communication, there was no closure, there was no resolve. And you've had to sit with it, and you've had to play with it, and you've had to create a reality around being separated from that experience, now having to create your own new reality. Most often than not, you create it through the mental programs, because many are not yet awake to the point where they're understanding they create through spirit. But those psyche densities are still there for you to call forward and still resolve what's going on within you. And many of you that have that residue would go through those experiences as agitation and anger, because those agitations of anger, especially if you're going through something that was unresolved, those are usually the residues that are needing to be cleared and healed. Because your soul, the capsulation of your soul, is trying to create new. It knows itself as new. It knows itself as wanting to get on these new templates. But there's those residue energies that are still holding back, because those energies have not yet been brought up to be resolved and to be properly bereaved. And so even though you would say that that reality experience happened then, but your psyche is so powerful and profound. And if there hasn't been proper forgiveness, your psyche will create the exact people, even though they're perhaps not there, will create the exact experiences of those beings being there, because that psyche wants to build its story around what needs to be resolved. And that's mind-boggling. That's why there's going to be many, many cases of things coming forward and being unveiled, of stories that had happened then, if you will, but because of the collective ability to mature and process trauma, to mature and process traumatic events or consciousness events. That's again why they're showing me Jesus is shown on many, many timelines. Because stories have been created around the psyche, whether it's individual or collective, at the same level of psyche consciousness, of psyche maturity, that they have to process the events. And that goes individually and collective. So we're going to rewrite the whole 5D. what we understand as psychiatry, and we will get away from delineating or, you know, subjugating any one person to any one diagnosis. It will be a very fluid harmony of soul experiences that will take, you know, a beautiful journey of self-exploration and self-acceptance and self-harmony, you know, to really go through those deep wounds, even at the most, you know, at the most challenging, you know, experiences like Munchausen. And they're deep soul wounds that have a beautiful flowing ability to really triumph and liberate yourself out of the viruses, the mental viruses of its own safety. And because it's never been taught that. And they come right from our earliest belief systems about, you know, dogma and our religion, our oneness with God, the beliefs that we hold about God sending us to hell if we did things wrong, and how we are ingrained in all of those limitations those are not the appropriate experiences of creation. Our ideas of hell and our ideas of the devil are just those shadow aspects of us not allowing us to be fully liberated as spirit. And we have to have that catalyst to be able to create the light. So it is all one. There is no hell. The hell is the experience that you limit yourself to. It's just the experience of the psyche. There's no place called hell. It's not a place. The devil are those energies of negativity that hold you in suppression, hold you in subjugation. And there are a lot of entities that feed on that fear. They want to keep that fear going. And that's why you have those entities that connect to those souls that live in those fear. Depending on how you treat your body and honor your body, those entities can come into the experience and cause havoc and imbalance and chaos, therefore further agitating and aggravating your tower moments, because you're believing that you're not a part of that chaos. Again, Munchausen. You can't take accountability. So it's about the psyche maturity that you're holding, who you are as wholeness, maturity, who you are as the oneness factor, how you're integrating the oneness factor, how you're assimilating the oneness factor, and then allowing yourself to know that anything that is outside of that appears to be physical, it is the mastery that you have as the psyche, not manipulating, but manifesting the physical reality to show you what is not yet cleared and cleansed and honored. And especially if you have relationships that are very tortured, if you will, through many, many eons of soul experiences together, soul growth, soul loss, soul challenge, soul disruption, whatever you want to call it, because every soul will move through its experiences of catalytic friction. It has to, because it's all energy. Everything is energy, and our collective is going through it. It's all energy. We're now harmonizing the light and the dark, the underground with the upper ground, all from the subconscious. Remember, sub is being lifted to be conscious. Consciousness is everything. Your level of consciousness, your level of maturity, your level of oneness with spirit to know that you can harmonize and navigate anything. That is your level of consciousness. Your ability to work through anything, that you know that you're one with spirit, and to always go within and harmonize with the greater aspect of your higher self and your soul. Always harmonizing and assimilating greater packets of light to know that you can navigate things, greater complexities of light. Knowing that your psyche can create that manifestation of physical reality, although seemingly tangible and real, but can only be an experience of what you think is real because there's wounding within you that is not really there. And that's where they have created, and again, those misdiagnoses, and some, we're not saying all, but some, that are creating their realities around delusion. They're creating the stories around only the capacity that they have to understand. And so they're creating delusions, and they're creating their own stories through which allow them to fit reality into their story, because their beliefs are held so staunch that their reality is being created around their beliefs, and it creates delusions. Other people at a different consciousness level will say, well, that's not real. This is real. This is how reality really is. This is my perspective of it, but your perspective is here. We're saying here as in levels of templates. That we're all experiencing different templates. The person that's experiencing delusion, if we call it delusion just because other people on that one now moment will say, but I'm experiencing this here. I'm experiencing this here. The person that's involved in that same experience will say, that is your experience and it's true for you, but it's not true for me. So how do we create the bridge for healing and bring it all as one? Because these underground templates that were created from the biggest and the grandest old ancient dogma of us and them, withholding information, withholding wisdoms, the mind control, spell work, all of those things that are manipulation of energy, those all have to be brought up, and all of those underground societies will be bathed into the normality of, we say normality, in outside of what we know normality to be. but it's just a higher vibrational template. They're going to reach a new normal because those underground societies will be bathed in light, and all will be revealed. All that is hidden will be revealed. See, it's coming from the darkness and it's coming up to the light. Everything gets bathed, every vibrational template in between, and it's all now. That dimension where you had that wound, that star system where you had that wound, it's all being brought to you now. You're creating the physical reality around you so that that wound can be perceived. And so the recent experience that we've had on our planet of that volcano, those are symptomologies of these ascension oneness templates. There has to be the eruption of what's going on underneath so that it can be brought up, so that it can be bathed and cleansed. And the reaction, remember, it's all catalytic influence so that we're harmonizing greater levels of oneness, greater levels of light and care for one another. That eruption, although as originally seen in our old world, is wow, that's a catastrophe, and all of the fear mongers and all of those, the ways that we've done our information of Gaia energy and how Gaia moves, our consciousness is now much more aware. Our consciousness is much more wise. Our consciousness is much more godly. So now we're seeing as that these symptomologies for like the eruption, and many of the people that were devastated by it, all their communities are gathering in oneness and helping one another. And so they're just, again, symptomologies of oneness. Any catalyst is a direct harmony for us to thread in those harmonies of oneness. And again, the underground, all that was underground will be uplifted for us to really put it on all the table and say, now, how did the psychology, how did the psyche of these underground societies that truly harm our collective value system and moral system, how did we have those morals? How did we have those lack of values? How would we have those separative experiences? Because remember, those societies exist because we hold it in the collective, micro, macro, individual, collective. So those underground societies will all be brought up, every single one of them. There will be nothing underground anymore. Everything will be on the conscious level. Then we have to reflect into ourselves, where did I hold any separation of us and them? Where did I hold any separation of not valid? Where did I hold any separation of less than or not? Where did we hold any valuations of right and wrong? And we have to absolutely harmonize it into a oneness and create the bridge of a greater template. And so that is the templates of oneness. How it aspects our absolute understanding of who we are, what we exist within, and what exists within us, and how we can begin to rewrite all that we know to be psychiatry, counseling, and all that we are as multidimensional beings, creating our own reality from the limitations of the psyche, based on the mental programs of fear and limitation from many, many generations and eons of different things happening. Whether it's through dogma, whether it's through familial imprints and overlays that you choose to take on, and then clear out those densities so that you can create that expansive maturity and oneness of who you are as a grander soul, the honoring of your soul. And so that's really awesome. And so they were telling me that these are just the channel notes that I took. We're inspiring you to reach greater thresholds of oneness, greater thresholds of your potentiality. There is nothing off limits. There is nothing limited about you at all. You're able to pull anything that was from the past, anything that seems limited and painful, bring it up and face it, because you know you can. Your psyche, and we're rewriting it. This is the first time we're talking about this right now. These are firsts for humanity. The psyche and our understanding of it is multidimensional, and it is very, very elegant. So never underestimate your psyche. It is so profound. Your psyche is a culmination of many elegant things. Your belief systems, who you are as a soul, the capacity that you've opened your soul up to assimilate light. The assimilation of light is wisdom, intelligence, divine order, universal laws, everything you're co-creating in this physical divine reality, because it's becoming more and more divine. We're releasing the earthly human experience, and we're now becoming divine earthly beings, because we're understanding ourselves as spirit, as souls. We're incorporating all of our lifetimes, all of our bodies, all of our honorings, all of our templates, all of our realms, incorporating everything. All now is new templates of oneness and expansiveness. Your psyche is a beautiful and elegant multidimensional system. And it will absolutely rewrite everything we know to be about psychiatry and how true healing is done, even with the most confusing diagnoses. And we'll just call it a dialect of wherever that being sits to process and create its reality. And it will create it to self-preserve. It will create it to save itself. It will create it from whatever traumas that it holds that it doesn't even know it has within the chakras. And it's just reacting, because it doesn't know how to take itself into spirit. It's limiting itself within this mental template that can only go so far. It can't arise to this higher template until it has dealt with these wounds. And the underground thinks that that's the only way that they're earning money, if you will, for all of the nefarious activities that go on. Just trafficking of humans, anything that we find as the most unusual and strange for our level of consciousness, all things are being brought up and is celebrated. Because those are telling us that we are really getting into this level of celebration because we're higher vibrational consciousness, that all of these underground societies, we now have the potential to bridge and create oneness from even the things that we've held most separate. And it is always about the game of oneness, about the integration of our oneness. And it will always be brought forward by what you see without you. And your level of psyche, your level of daily self-clearing, your level of understanding yourself as the consciousness of spirit, and harmonizing yourself as spirit and loving yourself as spirit, honoring all that you are as a sacred being of multidimensional light, you're going to be able to allow yourself to navigate whatever it is and however it can, because you are infinite and you're an elegant being. And it's not really understood at all in the world we're coming from, but these are the new templates of oneness and why they affect everybody in different facilities. We say facilities because your mental body is a facility. It holds you in an experience of creating reality. You have to entrain that mental body, that mental facility to higher entrainment. And so we have many tools on that, and our classes help you go beyond through the calibration and the activations of your own codes, and working with your teams and working with your soul and working with your higher self to take yourself to greater potentials of consciousness. And that will change everything in your reality, because you're now becoming a soul of oneness. You're not becoming an individuated body that is only trying to keep itself within that mental story, because that's when all the towers will hit, because that mental perspective and that fear of self-preservation wants to keep it within a story it feels comfortable in. And the rest of the world is saying, no, we're changing. And so that's when you find the resistance of many. And this will just happen as a natural occurrence. Many will just find their way out because they're not ready to deal with those levels of oneness. They have to look at the deepest, darkest parts of themselves, and some are just not ready for that. And that's okay. It's all perfect. But just know that that's how things are shifting and changing. That person that's not ready to look at that level of its oneness, at that underground experience and that level of shadow that it has, because remember, there is no devil and there is no hell. There are only the perspectives that we hold within ourselves, and the limitations that we hold, and those negative energies and entities just want to feed fear. There's lots of beings and lots of entities that feed fear. That's the experience that we have as hell. It's experience. It's not a place. It's not a place. Everything is source. Everything is source. Everything is light. Everything is love. It's just a matter of what stories, what veils are keeping it within a limited perspective to stay safe and only knowing its own story. Oneness is the ripping off of those veils and the densities to say, I am one with all. I want to write a new story. That's why the ascension and awakening process is a now moment expansive. It's up 2 steps, back 1 step, up 4 steps, back 3 steps. It's not a straight up process, but you have many templates that you have to heal and work with, assimilate. It's always done within the highest and the best. Like my teams were showing me this morning, that one thing where we talk about even the person that's most awakened. If there is bits of energy, that sacred geometry that is held in a veil, if you will, still sacred, still light, still God, still source, held within a veil because it wasn't given enough time to bereave, to heal, to release that anger, to release the guilt, to release whatever it is that is veiled. That sacred geometry is enough for the psyche to create its own story of physical reality, to create something to reflect back to it and say, okay, now what are we're going to resolve this anger because I want to release this. I want to set you free. I want to set me free through forgiveness and compassion. The story will continue playing itself in whatever way you need to at the level of consciousness that you've created. Also at the level of veiling the non-adherence to the flow that your consciousness wants to expand. Because there's always that resistance, right? There will always be that resistance. There will always be it. As you're leveling up and creating that more expansive experience, you get to feel the subtleties a little bit more. Is there anything else down there that I need to pull up? Because I'm still dealing with this issue and it's still bringing me hauntings every day. What is it that I got to deal with? And your teams will show you there's still residue you got to deal with. Bring up the residue. and deal with it from this perspective. You're being agitated, you're being angered because it hasn't been dealt with. And your psyche is so powerful, it will create the beings in front of you, even though that being may have passed away 2 years ago, whether it's a dog or a family member. That's why so many people that are going through grief and going through bereavement, and when you have unresolved issues with your family and your mother and your father, and you didn't deal with it, you can create a reality where seemingly they're still there. Because your psyche needs to allow you, it might be a delusion, if you will, on any level. Your psyche's creating it, and all people involved have agreed to it so that they can resolve what needs to at the energetic level and bring it to a bridge so that all timelines can be shown into a bridging timeline of oneness and harmony. Anything that you move through has to be done as you understand yourself to be the center of the oneness, bridging that timeline of pain and tragedy into a now timeline of unity of oneness. And that's what's hard to understand, because now is different than no other timeline we've ever been on. Right now, right now, right now. The level of oneness that we hold to really release these underground timelines, to release the timelines of subjugation and deep, deep trauma. If you had a timeline where you were deeply, deeply abused as a child, those timelines are being threaded right now into the highest consciousness timeline that is possible. And that's why it feels so intense. And why the more you resist it, the more agitation and kind of ill health you'll go through, because spirit just wants you to let go and surrender so that that highest consciousness can really transmute all of those energies that are trying to hold you in that same story. So it's really mind-boggling how your psyche creates these realities, and how you just let go and just say, no, I'm going to assimilate everything as one as often as you can. Release, allow, accept, accept, accept. We're all one. And whatever staunch stories you're holding on to, there's a part of you that wants to stay in that reality because it only knows it's where it is. It's for its own safety. It always comes down to safety, of belonging, of oneness, of whatever that is. It's always the separation. The underground is a story of separation. Right? So now there's enough consciousness, there's enough light, there's enough oneness on these oneness templates that have been offered through spirit, through source, through the nodes and through the nulls and through the grid lines of our beautiful planet, that those grids and those activations are activating us as spirited souls, because we are as one, micro macro of the Holy Spirit, a spirit Christ of the grids of everything else. That's the multidimensionality. That's why when I'm doing my work now and I'm channeling, I'm creating these portals, the portals and the information that comes through is so much different than it used to be before, because I've released so much density. Again, the beliefs and the stories that you hold about how separate you are, and you're now creating with spirit, you're creating a source. It's infinite, it's creative, it's expansive. There's no holding you back. There's no ceiling. So we inspire you. There is no ceiling. We're going to rewrite everything. We're going to write psychiatry. We're going to rewrite the social laws. We're going to rewrite everything so that all beings are respected, so that everything that was under is going to come up, and we're going to bathe it in light. We're going to bathe it in the bridge of who we are, threading these timelines in the oneness of who we are on all consciousness levels. And when you do that, when you know that there's a higher perspective of consciousness that is you, that's just waiting for you to thread into this new reality, you wake up in the next morning and everything has just kind of been resolved. Because you're telling yourself that my body's ready to be in that body that is higher consciousness. I let this story go. I don't want to be in that level of consciousness where I see the same thing day in and day out, and I'm doing the same thing day in and day out. Your psyche is so profound. You're creating that limited reality. Your story, your belief. There's no one to blame. That's why that Munchausen is so interesting, because it has such steeped wounds that it can't take any accountability for anything it's created. So we're going to rewrite everything, people. It's so exciting. So exciting. There are no limits. We are one, we are one, we are one. And anything that we see on the outer reality is just us saying, these are new templates of oneness. Look at how that community in Tongo is now like, working together in their oneness. Something happened to uplift their community. It was brought from the belly. It was brought up. And now there's something that they're working together in oneness. How can they bridge that oneness? How can they bridge the destruction that was had now in oneness? And we're seeing pockets of this occur. Pockets of oneness when something happens. Pockets of oneness when this happens. Anything that is on the underground socially will come up, and the social collective will come together and say, those that have been brought forward in the highest level of consciousness, how can we build a bridge to thread these realities as one? That's God's plan. That's Spirit's plan. It's evolution. Evolution is oneness. Evolution is oneness. Evolution is not separation and limitation. You can't evolve. You can't evolve in a state of limitation. That's staying in limitation. That's staying in stagnancy. That's staying where the same thing happens day in and day out. You're not going outside your story. Break the boundaries. Break the box. Break the stories. Break all barriers. It's all new. It's all new. It's all new. It's all one. Templates of oneness have been activated. In you, without you, all things oneness. and you get activated. Those codes are there. Those codes are there. Those codes are there. Those codes are there. And each and every person on the planet, where'd they write that? Okay, one other thing that we forgot to say, we were talking about that story of, and that person that lost someone, and it could have been a couple of years ago, but their psyche is creating a reality where they're actually there. That's why when you go in and out of these realities, when you're time jumping and timeline jumping, you can be with someone that has passed 2 years ago, if we say, what we know to be the experience of linear time, but you had something to resolve with them. So you can be in a reality with them for a day to resolve that. They go their way, you go their way on their timeline, and you go on your timeline, you're creating something new. That's how multidimensional timelines jumping all over the place. Once you get used to being your soul self, you can jump whatever timeline you need to resolve whatever soul wound you need to. So this is really taking everything we know to be about the counseling of who we are, the healing of who we are, the psychiatry of who we are, the psyche of who we are. We're taking it far beyond. We're breaking all boundaries. We're heavenly babies. We're all. And so this is what they were saying on that. Cycles of now transcension. Multidimensional, your guides and your teams and the highest self of you has authority to veil and block experiences that you are not yet ready or prepared to consciously integrate. Because remember, everything is light, everything is now, everything is new. And you will create that reality, and there will be blocks and veils over you until you're ready to accept the reality of you that spirit wants you in, and that your higher self and your soul, and also you're preparing yourself for. Are you doing your daily self-care? Are you allowing yourself to get the light and to honor the light and to know your body as light? Are you able to assimilate those higher packets of light? So your teams and your guides and your energies will veil certain reality experiences that you could be going into, even though you might be super frustrated. Why isn't this happening? Why isn't this happening? Why isn't it happening? You know, like they had with me. And they're saying because there's residue there. You got to clear it out. Clear out the residue. And then you can have that open veil to that reality where all is healed. And things can happen overnight. That's how fast this is. That's all your will and your pure intent, and always the purity of intent. If you're doing it for the purity intent to get something, that's not pure intention. That is your will to get, and that is ego. And spirit knows the difference. That's what they said earlier. That psyche reality also too. That's when you know that it's ego or spirit. And that is the love and the compassion and forgiveness. Those are the vibrations of spirit. Love, compassion, and forgiveness. If you're not working in those every day, then you will still remain in ego and react from ego and live from ego and choose from ego. So it's up to each person to choose that. And their own path is their own path, and it's up to each person to move through it at their own pace. So in that, those veils, and there's always systems and protocols that they follow. So that you can have, it's always in the highest and the best. It's always so elegant. It's always so beautiful. And spirit just wants the best for you, and spirit wants the most adoration for you. There's always things, and spirit is always, the hand of God is always. Elegant systems within systems, protocols, anything that needs to be done so that you are living your highest and your best life, that is spirit living through you, and spirit adores you. There is no hell. There is no devil that God works against. Those are the energies that you've come with. Those are the packets of energies that you have come with that you must transcend because you created it. And it can seem like a devil, and it can seem like death, hell. Those are just the experiences that we call and the words we place on it. It doesn't mean anything. It's all neutral. It's all neutral if you choose it to be. So this is where you can take yourself out of the whole fear thing. It's just a game. Everybody has their avatar. Everybody has their programs that they're working within. Everybody has the stories they've wanted to take on and the overlays they wanted to clear for their family and their lineage and their collective. And each person gets to choose to live in spirit, to be in spirit, and bring all that was underneath up to be cleared. But there are always, whatever you're ready to deal with, whatever you're prepared to deal with, remember, are you doing the work? You got to do the work, because then you're going to reach those new levels of potentiation. Nobody gets free clearance. You got to go through the work. You can't get through this. You can't get to this template by jumping this template. You need everything in between. You want it. You got to have it. You got to. That's why I can speak in the way that I can, because I've gone through all of these templates, and I can see it from all these different angles and how I can try to create the words and the assimilation of storytelling so that it makes sense to anybody that's listening at any level of consciousness. Because at some point you'll get the activation of what you need, how you need it, and which way you need it, right? It's in your field. It'll come when it needs to come. There are systems and protocols that assure you of your highest and your best, but do you trust that in the universe? The universe is always on your behalf. There's always the highest and the best. You will always be cared for. You will always be safely held. That is spirit, that is God. But are you working in that entanglement of knowing? Most are not, because they're still working in the fear of the mental programs, the viruses, the stories of limitation. And that is the same degree through which you work with your God consciousness, that you are God, you're creating your reality, and it's all love and it's all oneness. That's the oneness template. And to the degree that you activate it in self-love, self-trust, and you're surrendering. Every moment, surrender. Let go of what was, surrender. Let go of what was, surrender. You're absolutely trusting unconditionally you're one with spirit, creating these more expansive realities. Testing your own boundaries every time. Go outside the box of what you've ever done to keep breaking those mental viruses of limitation and fear, because they're just illusion, right? They're all illusion. Face the fears, face it and do it. Courage is absolutely knowing that there might be fear there and doing it anyways because you absolutely know that you're one with spirit. That's courage. No matter what anybody else says, no matter what social conformity is, there are underground experiences that are coming up saying, I'm going to face that fear and we're going to go in and we're going to build a bridge of oneness, because we are threading and we are doing the work of spirit. We are the mavericks of spirit, creating what's never been created before, breaking the ceiling off every barrier we've ever held. We're going to rewrite it because we're multidimensional, we are divine, and we can move through anything. We're eternal beings and we are the voice of spirit. So again, we keep ourselves in those limited experiences because we know the impact of stepping outside of it. Wow, I got to create something new. I have no idea who I am. What do I do? I got to redesign myself, because nobody's taught us how to transcend old stories. We have lots of tools on our videos, and all of our videos are talking about how to rewrite and redesign yourself, because you're rewriting and redesigning yourself at a multidimensional level: physical, mental, emotional, and etheric. You're a spiritual being of holy light. However, if you've been brought up in these steeped traditions and dogma and lineage of hell and us and them and separation, there's a lot of wounding that needs to be healed there, because they're just illusions, not real. It's real enough that your psyche creates it, but you've got to pull it out and say, no, I'm an infinite being of light and I'm expansive. Those are illusions. I'm going to create something new. It's always free will. And it's always true. Everything is true in between. It's all needed. There was something really important they said to me over here. Your world is coming together from the underground that meets the birthing and giving opportunities so that each and every one of you are given the portal to adjust in greater acceptance of light. Remember, again, it's always the assimilation of light. Are you, and can you assimilate? What is your maturity of light? Are you processing and using it in your everyday light and life? Oneness and proceed. So your acceptance of light and your acceptance of oneness, and allowing the procedures of separation to be brought forward and bathed, and then building bridges into greater timelines of oneness. Because all that was dark, all that was unknown, all that was hidden, all that was lack of integrity, we're threading it into new vibrations of light and oneness. Our law systems, our criminal justice systems, everything will be brought to higher integrity light to align with 5D grids. You can't have a planet that's 5D grids and continuing 3D systems. That's why these things are coming up, because these systems don't match the grids. It's got to come up, just like the volcano. It erupted. It's not matching. Now it is, because now that community is acting in oneness. Do you see what we're saying? It's all energy. It's all got to be alchemized. Energy is energy. It doesn't go anywhere. If you've created the certain densities of your stories, you have to alchemize it all, because you created it. That's how powerful you are. Don't sit within a limited story of Munchausen and say, that's not mine. No, take on that power. I'm reclaiming my power. I created it. Watch me get out. We can redefine ourselves, but the wounds have to be healed, of course. So there is and have been a shroud of illusion collectively. There has been a shroud of illusion. It's all breaking away. Now, again, we go back to whatever you are prepared and ready to accept as your oneness will be the exact reality that you experience. So if you're holding tightly that, no, that's not me, you're going to accept that reality as that's not me. And you're not ready to experience the oneness. You're not ready to be a part of building the bridge. And that's okay. It's all true in between. But it's your ability to work with the oneness factor and really clear away your limitations and their separations of us and them. Because we are preparing this earth for our celestial galactic families, where it's going to be completely different. Their level of oneness is far exceeding and far outlandish of what we've ever experienced. We're taking the boundaries of everything to be our earthly experience, and we are threading in for the very first time oneness. Oneness with our wildlife, oneness with our oceans, oneness with our air. And we're going to start rewriting governments who don't put chemicals into our air to start manifesting and manufacturing fake weather. We are absolutely going to be in oneness, because we absolutely know that Gaia knows what the crap she's doing. She is a profound body of consciousness. She is actually threaded in all levels, at all levels, every life system within life systems, with the spirit, with creator, with all evolutionary programs. And who are we at a human level to say we're going to manifest and manufacture our own moons? We're going to manufacture and manifest our own weather, throwing the imbalance of our society right out because of our health and our wellness. We are in absolute alignment of oneness with our planet, and she knows what she's doing. We got to leave her alone, and we got to start imbalancing. We got to start bringing greater balance with us within and without. And just know that Gaia knows what she's doing. She's got her soul conscious program. She's got her mission, and leave her alone. We need to be in honor and respect of her and begin working in oneness with her. All wildlife, all weather, all water, all air, all consciousness that is consciousness, because we are divine beings aligning with fifth dimension. The fifth dimension is oneness. Fifth dimension is everything threaded as spirit. Everybody has their own plan. Everybody has their own blueprint. Everybody knows what everybody's doing. Gaia is wise. Make no mistake about that. She knows what she's doing. And she is the divine mother. She is the birther of all life. She is the feeder of all life. She knows what she is doing. And we will write everything that says that it's up to any one being or any one group that says we're going to manipulate weather. That is ego. That is ego thinking that ego knows better than Gaia and the creational plans. God knows what God's doing. Let go. And there's going to be greater tower moments, and you'll see this come out just like that volcano. There'll be other things that will come out, so that all of these things that are held in limitation and ego and egocentric oligarchy experiences are going to be brought up for every little bridge to be pathwayed into higher consciousness, laws to be rewritten, governments to stand in the greater good, leadership to stand in the greater good of the benevolence of the people and the water and the health and the food that we eat. Because it hasn't been. They have not seen our highest and our best interest, the amount of chemicals and synthetic energies that are in anything that we are accessing in our social reality. And it's time to wake up. We're a greater version of oneness here. And there's consciousness and elegance and divine blessedness on all aspects and all levels and all aspects of realms of the life within life systems. So there has been a shroud of illusion around so many that refuse to believe in the operations of the universe. The universe within, universe without. There's always a balance. There are universal laws. We are the universal law, acting it out and creating realities. Most have never been brought up. They've been brought up in limited, dogmatic experiences of limitation, fear, and oligarchy. And so that's what the reality is creating. So now in these templates of oneness, we're now aligning with the laws of one, the laws of the universe. Only that of a linear material world, such as the excavations that your collective will be excavating, all the darkness, all the underground, all the things that we have held as us and them, the separation, will all be brought forward so that your collective can look at the new patterning of what is truly oneness. What beliefs did you hold that your collective created such underground societies? What beliefs do each and every one of you hold that created such a thing? What are the values that you hold about a sacred body to have it trafficked? And be a part of that collective that does have it trafficked. To be a part of a collective that harms one another or creates video games about harming and blowing people up. You see what I'm saying? This is oneness. Because if it's truly oneness, you would never ever want anyone outside of you ever harmed, because you know it's you. You would never ever want to put anything dangerous into the air because you breathe it. The same people that are a part of choosing the decisions and signing off the contracts to put chemicals in the air are the very same people that have their children going to hospitals for lung and breathing disease. So we have to understand it's oneness, people, oneness. And what level of integrity are we holding ourselves within? And we all got to look at it. We all got to face it, and it's not going to be pretty. But we're now at the availability. Remember, we're all prepared now, because remember, it's all about what level of preparedness and what level of consciousness are you now ready to build that bridge of oneness? Because you're ready now. And if you're here listening to this, you're ready. And there's going to be things that unfold in different parts of our collective and all around the world that will show us how can we create that template of oneness, because the oneness templates are activated within and without. The patterning of limitation, the patterning of fear, and the patterning of greed is what you've all been existing within. Those are the veils of illusion. When you start ripping those veils off and saying, I don't want to be in that story anymore, I want to be this story, then you allow yourself to question your equal part of the separation game and start healing it. What, like I said, what is that that's holding me back? Why is it giving me such anger and agitation? Pull it out. That's part of separation. And you bring your collective into greater harmony, greater peace, and greater balance. Some will be placed at the helm of such unfoldings to walk many through the doors and the thresholds of oneness. Like, you know, those like myself, because I can understand on a multidimensional level. I'm here to say you're infinite. I'm here to say you're absolutely available and have the capacity to transcend anything. And we're going to rewrite everything. So let's get busy. Each and every one of you have a role to play. Each and every one of you have the veils to uplift. Each and every one of you have things you've taken on for your lineage and for your Akash and for your family. So release all victimhood. Stand in front of it. Take that power, recreate your empowerment story and say, I'm going to bridge greater oneness. I'm no longer a victim. I'm standing in the fullness of it, right? You walk with the heavens. Anything that spirit puts before you, I can make oneness out of this, spirit. Watch me. That's why you're here. Contract between you and spirit. Only you and spirit, and only you and spirit know. Spirit will always make sure you get what you need because you're following through with your highest alignment, with your highest intention with spirit. Anything that is not your highest intention with spirit, it will be known. And then you go through the healing of that because you want to purify, purify, purify until you're absolutely in alignment with your highest and your best. And of course, it's practice because we've never been taught these things. And again, anything you release and let go, it's equal impact to your new reality. Just as if you're staying in a limited experience and you're going through the same pain factor, right? Oneness factor or pain factor. Because either one, you're going to get a response. You're going to get a reaction. You're going to get the equal reality experience. And that middle ground is where we say, okay, it's all neutral. It doesn't hold any fear over me. Let's just start creating. And you're opening up to the highest possibility. That's the center of the Vesica Pisces. When you absolutely know the center of who you are, there is infinite possibility and potentials. We're going to rewrite everything on earth, no matter what earth you exist on, no matter what earth you're experiencing in any one moment, because it's different, on your capacity and your availability to assimilate who you are as light, as oneness. You can experience anything in any fraction of you. When they were showing me the connecting of the dots, every perspective of your soul self is saying, you can look at it from this perspective and gain in something new, and that thread of potential comes into you. So there's never only one option. There's infinite options, and Spirit's always going to give it to you based on the highest and the greatest good of you, the collective you belong with, and the highest and the greatest good for all evolutionary programs. God knows what God's doing. It's an evolutionary program of all universes. That's why it's infinite. We're just letting go of everything and say, okay, who are we now? And we're kind of standing in the field going, okay, Gaia, let's work together because there's great intelligence, there's great inspiration, and we're rewriting everything. And it's going to be fluid with the highest vibrational light. We're aligning everything on earth with the highest vibrational light and our oneness of it. Fairness to all, equality to all, we are all one. This is not an imposition, this is a celebration. Finally breaking free from eons of supremacy agents or deprivations that held you in separation and lack and fear, wanting to buy into their story, their vibrational story. And there means us because we've all created it. It's all one. And again, each and every one of you have residue that you have to clear. But what they were saying is that is important, is that if you're not activating that change within your heart, you're going to continue semblances of that physical ego reality, because it's through your heart that that pure intention is aching to resolve it all as spirit and alchemize it all as spirit. Therefore, you're creating a reality as spirit. And so it's always, again, through your heart and through the heavens, because you're walking as a heavenly being. You're carrying the universe within the center of every molecule, and all have equal threading to this. Not one person, if we say here and there, the separation thing, they have equal opportunity to the universe within every molecule within them as someone that is already ascended. It's all one. It's just the beliefs that each hold that allow us the perspective of the infinite spirit that spirit is, and I bless it all. Thank you for allowing me that perspective. You're beautiful and you're perfect, right? There's no separation as us and them are good or bad. It's all beautiful. It's all perfect. We need that reflection to always constantly press out through the friction and through the catalyst. We are preparing your lands for your celestial and galactic families and will require that you love all that was held within and without, outside and below. For you are not separate. How did you devalue? How did you misown and de-own all that you have ever been to create such societies? So again, they've been vibrations held within the collective for any underground society to create itself. There's been residue there, so it's got to come up and be healed. So now you're here to create those new stories. Okay, there we go. Timelines run concurrently. What you experienced last year is experiencing itself now, but now you're on a new consciousness level and a template of oneness. So your reality could totally different job, different place you live, you're living more freely, you're moving about the land, you're in greater connection with Gaia, you're living in a greater factor of oneness, you're helping communities build oneness, you're helping communities, build bridges to greater oneness and collective love. Timelines run concurrent based on your availability to process and assimilate light and really break all boundaries of what we thought we lived within and rewrite it all. Rewrite it to its openness. Don't rewrite it to say this is how it must be and has to be. because then we're still living in limitation. We're not allowing ourselves to accept our expansiveness as limitless being. There is a bridge to oneness if you can see the benevolency within the center of all moments. And that's what we said, the divine relationship. That's the bridge builder right there. Neutral. When you're neutral, you're not taking either side as right or wrong. That's again separation. And that's again mastery, your maturity. Everything is true and real. It must be. Everything that even seems traumatic or challenging or bad, it's only how you're perceiving it. It must be. And there's the equal opportunity held right within the middle as you're neutral and allowing the highest vibration of source to live through you. Then you get to create the new. Your highest potentiation is always held within your ability to be present and neutral. Always. And that's what we teach in our classes, to practice that and releasing your vibrational stories. Okay, so here's, this is the final end on this. There is little known about what you have just been talking about the psyche being so powerful it creates a reality unto itself, even though that person might have passed away 2 years ago. You're creating that version of that person, and they've had a partial part of that co-creation to be a part of it because they also have things to resolve with you. So that's why we said a long time ago. I remember listening to a Bashar video a long time ago, about 8 years ago. Different realities and different perspectives and different experiences is the level of psyche maturity, the level of psyche awareness, and your ability to process and be capable of processing the infinite ways that multidimensionality can be processed. Because what we're saying sometimes people have a hard time with because they're stuck within linearity. Back then, now. No, everything is now. All earths are now. Everybody's creating their own unique reality based on what they have potential to understand. Their psyche, their level of psyche creates their reality. If you believe that our world is absolutely virus-free, that is the world that you will be a part of creating. Possible. Everything is possible. We are here to implement oneness and infinite possibilities for all of humanity. Greatest health, greatest abundance. We are one with spirit. That's how we create. What are the beliefs? And so Bashar was saying that this couple had been together, and the fellow was having this experience where it was the greatest experience of his life. You know, he met this girl and he thought, wow, this is the greatest experience of my life. Her perspective of that experience was quite the opposite. She was just like, whoa, you know, that's just not my vibration. You know, it's just her reality of that experience. And he experienced it as the feeling of what he created. His emotional body was saying, wow, I thought you were so beautiful. I thought you were so amazing. The beliefs that he created around, remember, your emotional body creates. The mental body is the one that puts the pieces of the story around that emotion. If there is an emotion of self-preservation and pain, the psyche is meant as, again, it's a template, it's a tool. That mental body, that mind creates the story around that wound, and it will keep creating that wound, and the psyche will keep creating stories around that wound until that wound is brought up and healed. That's the process of all these templates working together. Your multidimensional fields working together as this cohesion of elegance that people aren't understanding, that you now get to create a new version of you as this most expansive being of light. That's essentially kind of what happens. There are not many that know this. And so both of those people were creating a different reality out of it. He experienced it as something profound, and he was creating his emotions. Emotions around that were so profound, and hers were just like totally not that. They were totally opposite experiences, totally opposite realities. So it's no different than those that are creating. That whatever is in that psyche that needs to be healed, that will be the reality that they need to create, and they'll fit the story. The story is the vibrational mind. The mind holds the story because it holds it to that wound. So the mind will create the story around the wound. And that's why we get into those experiences like Munchausen. It's creating its reality around the wounds that it's holding, and it will validate it with story after story after story. To that person, that is a real reality. It's not yet aligned with its highest capacity to harmonize greater infinite light of its multidimensionality. Multidimensionality, you can be on a timeline here, a timeline there, and you're still manifesting whatever you need to clear with whatever person you need to clear, and you're everywhere. Doesn't matter. There's no linearity. Timelines are not linear. It's concurrent right now. And your body is now understanding, wow, it is right now. That person might be there today and might be somewhere else tomorrow. Doesn't mean they're gone. Just means that they're on a different vibrational story that's no longer in cohesion with your story because you've cleared those energies. That's okay. It's all perfect. So we have to look at loss We have to look at who we are as multidimensionality, how we hold our realities in these psyche stories. Really, it's all being rewritten. And we're explaining them in the best ways that we can. And so they say, there is little known about what you have been talking about, but it will become clear because you will see things unfold in your multidimensional reality that will take you into question and ponder. It's slowly being released. I can see spirit slowly releasing these stories and these veils. They're releasing these veils of understanding of who you are as a multidimensional being. And everybody will be ready at different times. Remember, it's always based on your readiness and based on your ability to process who you are as light. Multidimensional, here and there and everywhere. And you will have these veils slowly lifted off so that you see a story, and it might have a different date than it did a day ago, but you knew it happened a long time ago, if you will. So that's how you just know you're jumping and you're moving back and forth to these various different times and these experiences, because you're going to be in the best timeline where you need to be when it needs to happen for the collective to get, and you also be with that experience of energy. So spirit's always going to move you where you need to be moved. So just surrender and allow it, and just live in the acceptance of oneness. Let go of anything that feels like a restriction, because 5D is everywhere in all things. Whatever's going to come up is going to be absolutely what's needed, because you absolutely know that you have whatever you need to process whatever it needs to be processed. But to know that your emotional body creates. If there is a wound, your body, your reality will create from that emotional wound, and your psyche will create the stories to fit it. Your mind then puts the mind then puts the pieces to have its reality make sense, because that's what the mind does. The mind wants to make sense. The mind knows itself as linear. The mind knows itself as birth, childhood, now. That's where we can create that youthing perspective. No, I'm going to take my entire consciousness. I'm going to create this now version of my body where it's in absolute health. Do you see what we're saying? There's so much space that we have to work with. And we say space is energy, light, divine essence. So I'm going to read that again. There is little known about what you have been talking about, but that will become clear in each individual's perspective of how they hold themselves within the reality. Your emotional body creates, and your mind will put the pieces of the stories together to help it make sense to itself of where it sits within its expansiveness. So if your mind only knows that you're this expansive, you're going to create a story around that. So this is where releasing all of those mental, that we've been talking about for the past 8 months, is really expanding the mental body programs, because most of it is in such staunch limitation and fear, based from all of the eons that we've all co-created within, and really releasing it all, because your spirit is infinite and expansive, and you can be here and there and creating realities in the most expansive spirited experience, because your emotional body creates whatever wounds, whatever happiness, joy, and so on, but then your psyche will create, and your mind will create stories to make it fit, to make it make sense, because it wants to go back to that understanding of linearity. No, we're everything is now, now, now. So release linearity. I think that was it. So your reality and your experiences are based on the maturity and the ability to process and to integrate and to use light. Remember, using light benevolently or not benevolent. So that's ego. When you're using energy in a malevolent experience, wanting to control situations, controlling others, spell work, and all that kind of stuff, you're using it in a way that is not benevolent. And you therefore will create a reality that is this, and stay stuck in that until you get to the wound. The wound of why you think you're not safe, that you have to do such things to control yourself and others, to control your reality. So its reality will be on the maturity level that it has to see itself as infinite. Oh, I can create anything. I don't need to control anything. I just want to surrender to spirit, and everything's going to be created. So that is what the process of your maturity. Am I able to understand that I'm infinite light, I'm infinite potentiation, and whatever I see in my reality is going to be the universe within me activating my oneness. And it's up to me to say, I can take this on, spirit. Let's go. I'm the bridge. And many of you are here to be a part of that bridge building for higher vibrational communities of light. So through which we are aligned with 5D realities. And just knowing it's always perfect. You and those that you love and all that you're meant to be a part of, because spirit will activate you to get going when it's time for you to get going. When you're meant to be a part of something on a collective level, spirit will move you, and you will have the reality experience that you need to clear up those wounds, you need to clear up that experience so that you're where you're meant to be. And nobody has access over that other than the hand of God. Make no mistake about that. And anybody that thinks they do, they're working from that vibrational platform that is only ego. And they cannot reach the platform that is God. God knows everything, God knows all. Because those have been some of my experiences. Those that think they have the hands in and the claiming of and the manipulation of my timeline and my thing and my this. No. That's in God's hands. Nothing overrides God. You don't think God knows every being that's entangled? God is right in the center of every thought that's ever thought. God's in the middle of every being that's ever trying to manipulate, and anything that's underground, God's in it. God knows what God's doing. That's what they were showing me this morning. It was so exciting. The templates of our earth, those templates and the grids and everything that's going on, God knows what's going on at the multi-dimensional experience. Creator, source creator, the love and the adoration that God has for all. God knows that when something is being activated, this certain collective is going to act this way, that certain collective is going to act that way. And there's energies and there's beings and there's people on the collective level that are coming in to help harmonize, to build those bridges of things that are going to be up. There are things that are going to be brought up. And the people will be ready. The collective will be ready. The light workers will be ready. Those of you that have been with us for so many years now, practicing and preparing our leadership, because we know there's things coming up in the collective that must have a bridge built for all of these timelines to be threaded in higher vibrational light. And it's going to be a long time working out the energy, because there's going to be so many that want to stay stuck on those controlling, because their minds only know the linearity. Their minds are only prepared for that. That's okay. But we're here to build and heal the greater potentiation of all realities. So we got to really let go of all that we knew to be separate and everything, and just throw it up in the air. We're all one, people. We're all one. Everything is one. It's all one. We're all here to be a part of the rebuilding, of the rematrixing of a higher vibration. And we say matrix in a beautiful experience of what light is. The configuration of light. And it's beautiful and it's elegant. And it doesn't have to feel like the vibrational stagnancy that we've been stuck within, of fear and greed and control programs. And so your experiences of your reality are based on your maturity and your ability to process, integrate, and use light. Use light in the benevolence, understanding the right use of will. Remember, we're aligning with the laws of the universe, and everybody will see it in their own way based on what they have to learn. So it's not right or wrong. Everyone will have to allow themselves the alignment of universal laws. The more they deny it, the more they resist it, the more they go against it, the more tower moments they will have, until they bring themselves back to center and say, wow, maybe I am the universe, and maybe I do work within the universal laws. And there are no clearance. Everything and every aspect of life, every system will have to move in this. Everything is being aligned to 5D grids. 5D light, 5D integrity, 5D oneness. The templates of oneness have been activated. And we are the perpetrators of that. Our consciousness level at the collective level has activated that. That's how profound this is. We're breaking all barriers. We're rewriting everything. So get excited, because each and every one of you are here to be a part of it. Regardless of what you think you're going through, you are here to be a part of the most divine and benevolent, the most profound human experience on all creation. And make no mistake about it, and I say this with great pause. Each and every one of you send ripples of light throughout all of creation, because each and every one of you are a part of this beautiful and delicate and elegant dance. It is a dance of creation. It is a dance of beauty. It is a dance of who you are as spirit. It is a dance to say, that was then, this is now, it's new. And own it, honor it, reclaim your power. Be the light of who you are. Know that you are allowing yourself to receive yourself at a soul level, and that soul level has many different experiences. It's a neutral experience. Don't hold it in bad or good. Hold it in neutrality. You can transcend that experience of the psyche and lift off all limiting stories that you've held it within, because the emotional body creates. And your psyche and your mind is going to create a story around it to make it true. And we're going to rewrite it all. So have fun with it. Celebrate. Problems occur when there are blockages due to the experience, again, because that pain was so bad, it just recreates those stories and just keeps creating blockages and stagnancy. But knowing how you can do and create your own healing yourself is step by step, taking baby steps to go outside of everything that was. First of all, facing and being truthful and accountable. Everything is realignment to truth. Everything that was underground is going to come up, and it's going to be aligned with truth. Where were we at the collective level that we created these experiences? And each and every person will be connected with it. Make no mistake about that. Human trafficking is a human collective experience, and every single person will have some sort of connection to transmute control of the subjugation of a being, of the valuing of a being, that no human can place any value or devalue on any other aspect of life. It's sacred. Just as who are we to place any value on Gaia, knowing that she knows what she's doing with the weather? Gaia knows what she's doing. The galaxy knows what it's doing. Every planet is alive and has a unique soul essence, as we said in our KCOR shows. Every planet has a soul plan, just like every person in your family. Pluto knows what it's doing in the galaxy of its oneness. I've got 6-dimensional Plutonians with me all the time. They're with me right now. They're a very huge and profound part of our planet's ascension. They're a part of the energy that threads. So make no mistake about it, Gaia know what she's doing. Everything is source. Source is a part of everything. Spirit is the essence of all that is life. Life evolving, life evolving, life. It's profound. We just got to let go and go for the ride and love yourself enough. Love, compassion, and forgiveness. That is the portal to every part of your expansive readiness and preparedness. And give yourself time to reflect. Give yourself time to integrate. Give yourself time to process and question it from all levels. That's how you know you're going to be a part of that new template. If you want to be. You don't have to be. There's no rules. You're always rewriting your path of spirit. What template do you want to be a part of? It's all true and real. You might have a few things that you need to work out here. So you're going to have a couple of days here on this timeline, and you're going to jump to that timeline. It's going to feel different all the time. So again, get lots of rest. Look after your body as if it's sacred, because it is. You are spirit creating matter because you are. And know that you are multidimensional. Your psyche is multidimensional. Not been written about, not known about, because we've never been taught these things. But now we are. We're multidimensional, we are divine, and we are so happy and such a grand divine experience to be with you in this. And we thank you, dear lighted ones, for being the conduit that I am, is offering this as the divine and holy experience through my vessel, through my own interpretations of the Holy Light Councils. Thank you, Lord Michael, and all of Lord, and thank you, Lord Melchizedek, and all the beings of light and the celestial councils of love and light. And they're looking forward to being a part of our assimilation into new worlds and new realms of oneness. And we're always with you in this participation of your oneness. And so many of you are doing such great expansive things. And just to see yourself play in this new realm of oneness, play with your grids, play with your planet, see and seek out how your planet is offering you oneness. Seek out how others around you are reaching out for oneness. How may you reach out and seek in the infinite possibilities that oneness offers? Oneness is oneness. The more that you just surrender to your oneness, flow through your day. Give that as your little tool, as your little tip. How may I see all in oneness? When you come up with an agitation or trigger, surrender and move into the center of the oneness of it. And the infinite possibilities will come to you. So beautiful. We thank you so much, dear lighted ones, and we honor you so much. Donations, we would love your donations to help us move beyond and create new illustrations, create new multidimensional ideas and illustrations for you. Our class is coming up soon. Those that want to book with me on their vibrational coaching sessions in alignment with your 5D missions and plans and your sacred joy offerings and activations of your gifts. Our class is this Saturday on the 22nd, and we love you so very much. From the beautiful heart of who I am as a soul of the Creator. Thank you, Holy Creator. I am Joanna, and I'm signing off for this beautiful session today of 5D living and lifestyle. And we love you so much as we're all rewriting the beautiful new foundations as the bridge of oneness, as our templates of oneness are being activated through us all. The beautiful sacred geometry of oneness through us all as we allow our consciousness at a collective level to rise to new levels, and the integration and the processing of our new infinite potentiality in the way that we live upon earth. Thank you, dear lighted ones. And we love you so much, and we offer you beautiful rainbow hugs and kisses. Bye.